Yeah, I was started early. Just it takes a second for it to go live, and then it has a 6-second delay on it. No.
Okay, this is the 10-second mark. Swallow your gum. That's true. Okay, it's 6 p.m. Call to order. Let's do the roll call. Nathan Taylor, Valerie Garcia, Vanessa Navarrete,
Here.
Jesse Arroyos,
Here.
Jim Shank here, Caitlin Comissaris, Janine Duarte, Brian Sepulveda. Here. And also we have Pete Castillo. Casillas. Sorry, Pete, I just changed your name. I know his name, but I don't know. I got CAS right.
So for the record, we have some ex officio members here, people who are representing their agency and don't have to be formally adopted. Can you please say your name for the record for Ruby? Anybody? Yeah.
Jim,
Yeah.
you can see it's CASIL.
Yeah, I know.
Anyone else, Ruby, you don't have?
No, that's it.
That's it? You got everybody? Okay.
Okay, point
Jenny.
number 3, let's do the pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. You guys are really quiet, so I sound really loud.
Now, I know Nathan reads the whole thing about the consent agenda. Do I have to do that?
No.
Okay. So, do we have a motion to approve the minutes? And
You need to read the agenda item.
Oh, approval of minutes of CBC regular session minutes of June 26, 2025. I have a motion to approve the minutes. I have a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, new business. We're going to go to projects and we will hear from our town manager. First, we will hear number A, discussion update on current status and implication of land that the town will acquire.
Okay, current status of the land exchange with the federal government. The federal government has finished all of its contracts, it's finished all of its authorizations, surveys. They had no appraiser in-house. So they authorized us to go out and hire an appraiser to work for them, just like an FEI, like the EIS is, NEPA is. So we did an RFQ from an approved list of vendors they gave us. We got 2 applicants, selected one, signed their contract, and they have started work. Within 90 days, the appraisal will be complete. Within 60 days after that, resolution will give us money for the transfer of those properties based on that appraisal. So if it comes back
60 days after the 90 days.
60 days after the 90 days. Resolution Copper's contract with us says as soon as we have an approved appraisal, they will transfer the money for whatever that appraised value is into our bank account or into a bank account within 60 days after that.
Who approves the appraisal?
The federal government.
Oh,
So they're working for an appraiser out of, vaguely remember she's out of Virginia or somewhere. There's no local appraiser. So again, the appraiser we have hired is working for the federal government to produce the appraisal. Once they give us a value, then we can start the transfer. We've also hired a surveyor. As a part of the contract, we have to create easements for all of the utilities that cross that property. There are 9 different easements, but there were 6 different utility companies. So we've got 6 utility easements that we have to have ready before closing of the property. So we have been talking to each of them. They all have a draft easement agreement. We need to create a legal description and a recordable easement to put again on the title at closing.
Todd, what does, I mean, I know what an easement is, but does that mean you can't build in that area? Does it change, what does it mean?
It depends on the easement. Really, what most easements are just, you have you can't impinge the utility's right to make access and do the work on their utility. It could mean you have a parking lot there, you can have, mobile things that can be moved out of the way, you just can't restrict access. And most of them are on frontage. There are some exceptions, but you have the natural gas line running across the highway, you have the SRP lines running across the back of the property, the high tension lines, you have some APS distribution lines, again, on the fringe of the property, to supply power for Emers, for instance. We're going to want those easements anyway because we want the power for our use. We want the utilities for our use. So this isn't a big deal, but because they're under a forestry permit now, when it switches to us, we have to give them an easement under the same terms they have under the forestry, which means we don't charge them anything more. We just have to have recorded easements.
And we should have those drafted and ready, like when the transfer's gonna happen, like.
Right, and that's easier said than done because we're dealing with 6 different utility companies. Some of these are quite large, and like El Paso, that's part of Kinder Morgan. It's a nationwide company. I don't know, maybe even an international company.
So what utility is that? What do they supply?
El Paso is the transmission line that provides the gas that Southwest Gas uses to provide service for a town, but it also provides gas for other locations. It's a 4-inch gas main that provides pretty much the entire upper quarter of the town. So, so there's 2 or 3 different fiber optic lines that run through there. Most of those, there's SRP lines, there's a bunch of stuff that runs through there. And we have to just record all those. Part of these lands were originally envisioned as a golf course. They would have made a very nice golf course. Unfortunately, golf courses are going broke like nothing else, and there's no water.
I don't see how.
So-
My husband plays golf every weekend.
Todd,
They're actually looking like Kearney or Winkleman. Winkleman is looking about abandoning their golf course because it costs them more money and water than they can afford. So,
This piece of property, this is on the north side of the 60? Where is it?
So this piece of property is the north side of the 60 and around the Emers plant, and it's the airport itself, and it's everything down to the Castleberry, and it's 40 acres adjacent to the schools, 40 acres to the south of town. So it's the entire developed town up to this point is 1,200 acres. We're adding 546 acres.
Okay, so this appraisal is property, it's property north and south of the 60?
It's the whole land exchange property,
Okay.
including the cemetery, which I hope the appraisal comes back as they give us money to take it, because it's not worth anything in cash wise. But the other ones are reversion right on the airport. It's not full surface value. It is whatever it costs to buy a reversion, so that if we ever stop using it at the airport, we don't have to give it back. So what's that worth? I got lots of question marks on that, and nobody knows. So we'll see what the appraisal comes up with. I've tried to find comps myself. I cannot find any comps.
Okay, so the property contiguous to the runway, like where people are talking about putting hangars and stuff, that's part of the land we're buying?
Yes. And part of the problem now is we can't subdivide, we can't lease any of that, we can't sell off parts because it all has reversion rights on it. So it has limited our ability to develop the airport. It still has challenges. Even with title, we do not have full utilities out there. We have sewer, we don't have power, we don't have hydrants or water. Hydrants and water will probably come when Resolution has to run their pipelines out to the Castleberry, because to build what they want to build, if they want to build fixed structures, they're going to need a hydrant. So they'll have to put in the main.
I thought we wanted, that the idea, the strategy was to get those hydrants put in at the same time the line ran out to Boyce Thompson.
Boyce Thompson, during the time we've been trying to get that funded, has gone from 5.9 million to 10.6, I think, million dollars. The cost of the pipelines have gone from $200 a linear foot to $400 a linear foot in the last 3 years. We cannot find a funding source that will give us a big enough grant to be able to afford that. We could get a loan, but we would have to pay it back, and we can't afford the debt service. That would be something like, rough guess, $400,000 a year, and we don't have it. So, the right now, the pipeline to the Arboretum is a bit of a pipe dream, to stretch a metaphor.
Any other questions or comments on the land that's been acquired? Okay, point B, discussion update on putting water in Queen Creek and the current projected timetable.
Okay, so the grant is running, the design work's running. Wilson Company was a successful bidder on design. So they are creating the 100% design plans for the lower pipeline. The upper pipeline already had 100% design plans. The lower one has problems with figuring out where the crossing will happen on the highway. The current best plan is to run a pipe underneath an existing culvert that ADOT has put in. We can't run it on the bridge, but we can run it in the culvert, is what ADOT's telling us now. So we have to apply for those permits. We'll have to run through that process. The pipeline has been downsized because it has the same inflation issues that all of our other projects have. So it's a 4-inch pipeline on the lower end and a 6-inch on the upper. So the upper will connect to an infiltration gallery. The infiltration gallery has been dry for about a year because there's no rain. So we'll put the pipeline in and nothing will come out of that until it really starts to rain again. And now that I say that, we have a rainy weekend. But we have to we did an evaluation of it. Resolution did an evaluation of it. It's in better shape than anybody thought. It is rehabable. So the intent is to rehab that through the agreement with Resolution Copper. They're going to provide the funding to rehab the infiltration gallery, and we're going to attach our pipeline to it and run water out of it. It runs, according to Jimmy Padilla, who ran it for the Arizona Water in the 90s, it runs about 2 to 3 months a year. So but it produces quite a bit of water during that period, up to 220 gallons a minute, which is about 8 times what that test run was. If everybody remembers the test, when we did a test discharge about 2 years ago, that was about 35 gallons a minute. So this is a significant amount of water, but it's cyclical. The agreement also calls for delivery of water from the Never Sweat. Never Sweat is back in the day, it was never less than 90 and sometimes 150 acre feet. Now it is significantly less than that, perhaps 60 to 90. But it hasn't rained in 20 years, so it's really hard to tell how much water it will produce in any given year. But that water is tied into the Apache Leak Tuft, so it's perennial. It's coming out of groundwater. So it's also completely clean because it never reaches the workings. I've shown videos before, we've probably seen the presentation. The Never Sweat is way high compared to everything else, all the other workings. It's right under the creek, in the upper reaches, which is why it leaks. So the Never Sweat, there was some of the testing that we did, tested how much water, when it flows down the creek, shows up at the pumps underground. Some of it shows up at the Never Sweat, some of it shows up at the deeper pumps, but whenever it rains, you see water show up at the pumps underground. And to the tune of based on all the calculations, and there are about 6 different modeling runs for it, is about 471 acre-feet on average per year. Ends up at the pumps underground instead of flowing down the creek. So that's the intent of this, is to catch some of that water, restore it. All the available sources that we can reroute and put back in the creek to provide a natural flow, we're going to do that. So it needs a perennial flow, which is a constant flow, and it needs the infiltration gravity, which is an ephemeral flow. We're also going to bring a pipeline up from the wastewater treatment plant to the US 60 park, and we're going to discharge it in the creek there. There's also a plan to replant a cottonwood stand and to use this water to irrigate that cottonwood stand so that we restore a more natural riparian area down there. But there's a lot of moving parts before we get this all done. It still has to be permitted. Between the two of those, we'll be adding around 100 acre-feet a year, maybe up to 200 acre-feet during wet years, maybe a little more even. So we want to, at that point, we'll have water in the creek. We want to use it to do restoration projects. So it should flow most of the year. We'll probably shut it off at least 1 or 2 months to let everything dry out, because it's a naturally cyclical system, and all the designers tell me that that's desirable. So it's going to be a lot of research opportunity, a lot of design still to go. So lots of things still to happen. But as far as timeline, December, design done, construction would start in January. The contractor's already been hired. It's Ellison Mills, same contractor who did our Main Street. And so we are ready to roll on construction as soon as we get all the approvals.
Todd, my question is, my understanding is the agreement between the town and Resolution Copper is that they owe us over 400 acre-feet a year. You're talking about 200 acre-feet a year, so what happens with the other half of the water?
So there are, the contract's still in negotiation for that. So the intent is that they're going to purchase that water on the open market for us. There's not enough water here locally to give us that water, or we would take it from that. But they're going to purchase water from another source and bring it, either a bank's storage credit, an underground storage credit, or a perennial surface source, like such as Bartlett Dam, or a ag to urban transfer. There's a lot of ways that we can get the water. Getting the water here is the challenge. So for us to build a pipeline to bring water from the CAP canal, because if you're going to get buy water on the open market, it's going to be banked somewhere, and you're going to put it in the canal. You're going to pull it out of the canal. You're going to use that as your water source. But in order to get it from where most of the water is being dropped now, which is New Magna Irrigation District, to the desert well field, you have to build an 8-mile long pipeline. And current estimate for that pipeline is about $20 million.
But isn't that Resolution's problem?
Resolution is going to have to build a pipeline anyway. Resolution is bringing the water up for their operations from the same sort of sources. So they're going to build a pipeline that will carry all the water that we would get. As a very small factor in its design. I mean, compared to their water, it's less water. So if that gets connected to the desert well field, now that water is available for assured water certificates and for new development, and we can get ourselves out of the situation where we can't do any subdivisions. Right now, because we are in the Phoenix AMA, the governor said no groundwater sources can be used as assured water supply. So you can't get a certificate to do a subdivision of anything over 5 divisions. So you can't do, Highlands cannot be built in the town of Superior anymore. There's just no way to do it. You can build.
Todd, that pipeline, I mean, we're talking about 10 years from now, aren't we?
Yes, 5 to 10 years for the pipeline. Resolution needs it for operations, and their timeline's 5 to 10 years. So assuming they get their permits, construction, permitting, negotiation on that would have to start full throttle.
But all the time that we don't get that water, they owe us that water.
Right, it'll have to be stored. And that's the difference between banked groundwater credits and maybe getting a surface water source and storing it in the New Magna Irrigation District, because you can give that water to the to the, you can either do a recharge there, or you can give that water to the agriculture there and use their groundwater as an offset. So they don't pump groundwater, they use your water instead, and you get that groundwater credit. Or, if we purchase Bartlett Dam stuff, Bartlett Dam won't come online until 2032, but any water that we had during that period, we could store behind the dam. But it would be a much longer timeline, but it is a perennial source, it's forever. Once you pay to buy into Bartlett Dam, you have that water for as long as Bartlett Dam exists, which, you know, these 100 years is nothing for a dam. So that is our preferred approach, but all of these things are to be determined. So if you look at our mitigation agreement with resolution, it's a few paragraphs. It's maybe a page. It doesn't have enough specificity to settle all these details, and that's what we're working on the follow-up agreement on. So,
Devil's in the details.
yeah, and there's a lot of details here, and water is, there's lots of law that wraps around it, right? So coming up with the agreement, we can all agree to something, but if the law doesn't support it, it may not be buildable the way we envision. So we have to make sure that that agreement's flexible enough to deal with any permitting things that come up.
Isn't it more reasonable to believe that the regulation that the governor has made will change before this water comes online?
That's a question of politics, and please do talk to your mic because I am a little deaf these days.
Oh, sorry.
The governor, if the governor's office flips, then it's a whole different conversation. If one of the Republicans come in, they probably would reverse this fairly quickly, and we'd be back under the old rules for shared water certificates, and we would have no problem. So we still have to figure out how to get our water here, but it's not an assured water certificate issue. We already have 250 acre feet a year CAP water, and it's raining obviously, and that we get through Arizona Water gets for us. They bank it in their recharge facility on the CAP canal, and I think it's outside Santan to the north. And that is all that water we had an agreement with CAP. Our allotment was X amount of it was 250 acre feet. It required us to make payments on it. In about 2008, the town was broke. It didn't have enough money to pay its employees, let alone the $40,000 payment. So they signed it over to Arizona Water, with the understanding Arizona Water would keep that water available for the town. And they have. They've stood by that agreement. They're banking it, they're using it as the offset for our water use. We use about 250 acre feet a year, municipal. Resolution is using about 250 acre feet right now. So our total usage for through that pipeline right now is about 500 acre feet. So we're offsetting all of our use, the town's municipal use, with that 250 acre feet of CAP water. Now CAP water is cyclical, again, because they're talking about Colorado River retractions and decreasing all the allotments because Colorado River is oversold by about 20%. And that's why it's not, those lakes are all sinking because they've sold their model that they based all of the allotments for all of the states was wrong. It was based on a wet year. It was 20% over. It doesn't meet current demand, so they have to adjust the model. But when they do that, 7 states send every possible attorney they can find, and they all go in a room and they argue. And nobody can come up with a solution. So they haven't fixed it. Everybody knows the problem and has for decades. No one's fixed it. And we're reaching the point where automatic cutbacks are going to happen because the levels in all those lakes are reaching dead water, where they no longer have enough water to reach the outlets. So it is a existential threat, which everybody knows about and nobody's fixing. So bigger politics than us, which is why the governor is trying to make some rule changes to decrease urban sprawl and increase water use and all this and the other thing. We're an unintended consequence. We're out here on the very fringe of the Phoenix AMA, rule changes meant to address Queen Creek and Buckeye are affecting the town of Superior. We are not suburban sprawl. We're rural, so we don't fall under that designation. So there has to be some sort of understanding of that, but we've gotten nowhere with the governor's office on that. We've visited, we've met with their representatives several occasions. Nothing's happening on that.
Thanks. Any other questions on water? Okay, we'll go to topic C, discussion update on current status of the multi-gen center.
Okay, so the multi-gen is, the architect's been working on this for about 2 years now. Phase one's done. Phase one included air conditioning, air conditioning on the gym, new service entrance for electrical power to come in. All of our service panels were ancient and they didn't meet code and they had to be completely replaced. So that was the biggest single cost item for the building. By doing it the way we've done it, we've managed to come in really under budget on the electrical. Great. Everything else in that same period, all the pricing has skyrocketed. So knowing that there were going to be impacts of this sort, inflationary impacts, we planned this project out in 9 phases. So phase one, main electrical, and the air conditioners, because we got that funded from another source. Phase two, admin, the workout spaces in the gym, including the cardio and the weightlifting room, and the bathroom modifications for the gym itself to make them ADA accessible. And again, 15-minute dissertation if you want, Jim, but I don't think that's necessary. Bottom line is most of the bathrooms have to be at least upfitted to make ADA a thing. Also, there's a problem with the number of toilet count. So you get an engineer, they pull out all their tables and they tell you for this square footage you need X amount of toilets. So we have to make sure we have enough toilets to meet everybody who's going to be in the building. So we have to add a few. Also, we're taking that old communal shower out there, busting it out, replacing it with individual shower stalls. You can close the door and you don't have to worry about dropping soap. So that project was going to be rolling in phase 7, which would have included all the second floor buildings as well. But when we got into scoping, we started calculating out the cost for phase 2. Very quickly we realized we didn't have enough money to do both phase 2 and phase 7. We are at about 1.8 roughly right now for phase 2. We have a grand total of $2 million. And we still need $500,000 for the elevator. So we'll be putting out a change order with USDA to try to get some more Colonial money to build the elevator to get us at least through phase 3. Because the project is designed, if we can get through phase 3, the building's usable. We can move in. Admin will be in there. The gym will be open. Most of the intended uses will be up and running. The Enterprise Center, we bootstrapped. Resolution gave us some money for that service entrance. We did the rest of it with our own crews, did it in-house. We did it, the budget for it was $450,000. We did it for about $150,000 because we bootstrapped. So it is up and running, and we're going to try to do the same thing for the kitchen area, which was, I think, the Enterprise Center was phase 5, I think, or 6. The Senior Center was phase 5. The library is phase 4. Of those things, the only thing I'm probably going to have a hard time building without getting more money is the library. That's going to be $450,000. It needs all new air conditioning. It needs new windows. It needs a new roof. A lot of very high dollar items. So I'm going to have to fundraise another $500,000 to do that.
So we're doing the senior center before the library.
Theoretically, we're trying to come up with a plan to bootstrap. Because it has an existing kitchen in there, we have to replace its hood because that hood does not meet code. So we have to rip it out, replace it with a new one. We've already got the hood. We've got all the kitchen equipment. We got through a grant 3 years ago. It's sitting in storage right now. We have brand new kitchen equipment sitting in storage for that place. We just have to get the basic upgrades done to the building to take that. We have to get the electrical fixed, because Mr. Carden did a lot of the electrical in there, but he did it himself, I think, and none of it's up to code. So it's all gonna have to be pulled back out. Some of the parts might be reusable, but most of it will have to be completely redone. So, again, the most expensive item in this, all these upgrades is electrical. So, the plan, the phase 2 is ready to go. We're waiting on one set of numbers from the electrical. Once that's done, we'll take it to USDA and get it approved, and we can start construction on phase 2. That will progress for the next 6 months to 12 months, and that will get the main building ready. In the meantime, we are done with the plans on phase 3, the elevator. We'll get some scoping numbers, and then we'll go for a change order and try to get the money to build that. And it can, it's mostly contractors, so it can operate at the same time that the main, that phase 2 is running. So if we get those 2 items done, and if the timeline stays roughly in line with what we've got in front of us, we will be in time for the state of the town next October. So that's the goal. That's what we've been working for. Because these are complex projects, we had a 3-month delay waiting for an electrician to give me a bid on the building. Every time you turn around, there's a new delay. And external agencies you can't control. Our only choice would have been to get a new electrician. That would have taken us 3 months to do anyway. So you have to do an RFP, you have to go out for bid. Nobody bids on our jobs. We had to solicit bids. Like for instance, the hood. We've been trying to get a number to replace the hood. We brought 3 contractors out, only 1 bid, and it was $30,000 to put in the new hood, which is pretty high. So, this is not an easy process, to say the least, but we're seeing the light at the end of the tunnel of the planning, and we should be able to start construction on the 2 main, the things that will make the building come alive. And then the rest of it is bootstrappable. We can just build it all ourselves, just like we did this building. It started half abandoned, and then we just kept fixing little things as we went along. And eventually we got the whole thing working. And it took us 5 years after I came on. Some people have been working on it for probably 5 years before that. Any more questions about that?
Summary of current events. Pete, you got anything?
No, right.
Ryan, you have current events?
I was gonna say, no, he does. Not much aside from everything we talked about. You know, a big key United focus continues to be the water agreement. Now the land appraisal, the land exchange, and then all the mitigation conversations that are prepping for next steps. So our world is really full with all that. Most of you are involved in most of that. So it's gonna keep us busy for many years to come. It's fun just begin.
Thanks. Nancy?
Nothing for myself. State of the town, October 2nd, and then it's also homecoming next week. So homecoming game on that Friday, 25th.
That's great. I didn't know. Jesse?
We got lots of stuff going on in town. I think you guys can speak more to that, but like Miracle on Main's coming up. There's a Mike Mickey Car Show coming up. A couple of other things. The Rural Race, as you know, is canceled. The chambers and the town are working with a new rural company for next year. They're super excited. They've already started to include like artists and young artists to try to get a new logo for the rural run. So they're super excited about coming and working with that here. I probably forgot some things.
Yeah,
There's Muertos is coming up.
that's this weekend, isn't it?
The 20th.
At the end of October.
Oh, I moved it up on mine.
And then trunk or treat
and trunk or
The next
treat.
day after Taylor's.
And the Arboretum's also looking to do a trunk or treat at the Arboretum on Halloween night.
Oh.
And they're looking for anybody who wants to come and, advertise their business or give out candy. Because they're open for the, flight exhibit, they want to do that.
So I would add that, remember that the Arboretum changes its hours on October 1st, so instead of opening from 6 to noon, it will be 8 to 5. And I think it's Fridays and Saturdays that open for the evening. And they have the gala coming up sometime in October. And Todd, you have anything?
October 4th, there is an event in Miami, a mining festival event, which sounds like a lot of fun. Unfortunately, if you, just before I walked in here, I saw a video of the highway and through Miami running several feet deep.
Yeah.
So hopefully the work they've been doing on floodway it will help, but I anticipate they're going to have some damage. So last time the town sent a crew, a lot of the mine sent crews up to help them dig out, and they may need that help again. So we'll all have to pay attention.
Also on that day is the Canal County 150th celebration. I sent out a flyer to anybody who's on our county to contact the chamber, so, and a couple of the days were gone.
The town's covering the 150-year celebration, and the chamber's covering the mining event, and so we're dividing and conquering so we can participate in it.
Okay, so the town will have representation in Florence?
Yes.
All right, anybody have anything else? And I will, let's see, our next meeting is October 23rd. And if there are no other points, I will call for adjournment. We are adjourned at 6:37.
Motion.
Motion to
adjourn.
Do we have to vote on it? Oh, okay.
I'll move to adjourn.
All in favor?
Aye.
All against? All against would take you out.
Thanks, Chip. Thanks, everybody.